Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on Brand You, How to Differentiate You from the Competition. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host, and our presenter that you see on the screen now is Ramon Peralta. More on Ramon in just a minute. But first, some brief information on SCORE. If Ramon, you could move the slide for me, please. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA. And right here locally in Fairfield County, we have over 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And we offer three primarily value-added services to small business owners. First of all, we offer free one-on-one counseling, which you can get by video, telephone, email. And you can access that using the yellow bit.ly link on the screen, or you can go to our website and request a mentor on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. Our second main service is that we offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars throughout the year, similar to this one, about 150 throughout the year. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts. Our next live webinar will be tomorrow, Tuesday, February 9th at noon. And the topic is what to consider when buying a small business, with Cliff Enico presenting. And you can find more specifics on tomorrow's webinar on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. And if you're on our website, you'll also find that we have a large number of archived webinars there that cover a wide range of business topics. And you can view any of those on demand from our website. Just a few logistical comments about today's presentation. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, but if you have a question, you can pose it at any time using the chat window, and you can access the chat window by hovering on the bottom of your screen and just clicking chat, and Ramon will take those at the end of his prepared presentation. We will end our webinar sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next couple of days. So it's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Ramon Peralta. Ramon is the founder of Peralta Design, a Shelton-based full-service digital creative agency specializing in branding and web development for entrepreneurs and startup companies. Ramon has over 20 years of experience developing corporate identity and creating business-to-business and business-to-consumer marketing materials and UI/UX design. Ramon developed a passion for innovation after serving as senior art director on the original startup team behind Priceline.com. Ramon, it's all yours.
All right. Thank you, Bob. And welcome everyone that's joined. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to talk about how to differentiate yourself from the competition. So ideally, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners, business development managers, and folks interested in launching their own brand on the call today. And it's a tall order. We're going to cover a lot. I'm going to try to go for about 40 to 45 minutes or so, and then leave ample time for questions at the end. So yes, a little bit about myself. We're going to focus on content strategy today. And this past year, I managed to make an appearance on NPR's Marketplace and the Today Show due to a lot of the content and the content strategy that I've been putting out from our company. And I'll share some of those tips and tricks and suggestions today. I was on the team behind Priceline.com. I worked at Walker Digital for about 10 years, launching brands. And in 2008, got laid off and started my business from scratch with a severance package. And so over the last 13 years, I've implemented and honed in and really perfected a lot of the strategies that we're going to review today. So I'm very, very excited to be here with all of you. Last year, we were named one of the best companies in Fairfield County for a digital marketing agency, and we're located right here in Shelton, Connecticut. We cover all the elements of launching a brand: web development, corporate identity, videos, branding. And we're going to jump right into it because we've got a lot to cover. So differentiate you and differentiate your brand. A content strategy for your business is now more important than ever. Okay, so content is everything that you're putting out there. You want to create and monetize this content. We're going to talk about that. Part of this is, the strategy behind differentiating yourself is how do you appear above the fray? How do you rise above your competition by creating this content for brand awareness, but also how do you monetize it? And we're gonna peek into that a bit. Ultimately, the goal of all of this is for you to attract your company's target customers. So it's very important that we go over some of the foundation. Those of you that have been at some of my prior brand new workshops, some of this is going to be remedial and we're going to dive into really some of the heavy meaty stuff, but I've got to cover the basics. So as you prepare for takeoff, I want you to think of your company in these three parts here. Your branding is what people see. So we like to use this rocket metaphor. So the branding is the tip. That's what people see. That's your logo and your messaging and your brand story and your slogan, the things that make you memorable. And if you think of the hull of the ship that as your digital footprint, that's everything that people would find about your business if they were to look for you online. So that 24-hour store is your website. That's the hull. And then how do you drive traffic to the hull? How do you drive traffic to your online store? How do you raise awareness? It's with the thrusters, the down the turbo boosters down at the base here, which is all the digital marketing tools that are at your disposal these days with social media and email marketing and Google ads and videos and SEO and SEM, search engine optimization and search engine marketing. So there's a lot going on, but the simplest way to think of it is that all three of these really work well together. And we'll start with the brand. I love this slide. It's the brand iceberg. Okay. And a lot of people think that brand is just this top piece, and it's so much more. And as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a salesman, as an employee, you should all be saying the same things about your company when you're giving a pitch, when you have an opportunity to meet with a prospect. Try to have some consistency between the culture and the promise and the emotional values, and what is the value proposition. What is it that makes your company unique? Is there something unique about the company story? Is there something unique about the owner? Those are the kind of things you want to really push forward. It's been a while, but I still use the fact that I was on the team behind Priceline as part of my story, the fact that we focus on startups when most people feel like they're not very well funded, the fact that I do a lot of service and volunteer for SCORE. Those are all differentiators. So I like to practice what I preach. So you're going to see that I'm not just here to give lip service, but that I'm going to try to, hopefully, you can walk away with some real tangible action items to take. Okay. When you're coming up with your differentiation strategy, okay, start with these two steps: your brand positioning, and then what actionable steps can you take. Okay, so what's the competitive advantage of your service offering? If it's an insurance company, what makes your insurance company different? There are a dime a dozen. Financial advisors, dime a dozen. Creative agencies, dime a dozen. So one of the things that I do to differentiate is I think of what are the pain points. What do people hate about ad agencies? What do people hate about insurance companies? And then start there, try to attack those. Oftentimes, you'll see people create a niche. Maybe they offer specific service for a specific niche industry. For us, we love working with small businesses and entrepreneurs, but that just leads the story. It's not all we do, but you need something, a brand thought that's simple and memorable. I'm a big golfer. I don't know how many golfers are on the line, but if you've ever been out there and you've taken a lesson, or you're playing with with that guy that just wants to give you advice, before you know it, you've got like 50 to 100 thoughts going through your mind, and you have like less than 2 seconds to think about all these things before you hit the ball. And brand thoughts are like swing thoughts. Okay, I love this slide because it illustrates clearly that if you have too many thoughts about your brand, if you're trying to say too many things, that's not going to help you stand out. People are not going to remember you. Try to have three brand thoughts, and these are the most basic that I want you to think about people being able to get from whether they do a Zoom with you, whether they visit your website, whether they see an ad for you, whether they read a brochure. They need to leave with these three main brand thoughts. What do you offer? How will it make my life better? And what do I need to do to buy it? They need to be able to get that right away. We'll talk a little bit about brand identity design, because oftentimes your branding is actually putting you into, the wrong track. It's not attracting the right customers. It's limiting your audience. I'm just going to use this example because it seems like a minor twist, but JFS Care at Home approached us for a redesign, for their rebrand. Okay, so JFS is their parent organization, Jewish Family Services. By leading with JFS Care at Home, they felt that people thought that they only took care of senior citizens that were the Jewish faith. That wasn't the case. So we de-emphasized JFS by putting it second. We said care at home by JFS. Now it seems very simple, but just by doing that, you de-emphasize what you want to and you emphasize what you do want to. And they're basically saying, yeah, we have an affiliation to Jewish Family Services. That's a very well known, very well trusted organization. We don't want to lose that, but we don't want to lead with that. And so look at your branding. Look at, you got a new year, we got a new start. You have a great opportunity here to say, hey, let me look at my competitors. What are they doing? Let me look at uh, who's my target demographic. Does this really speak to them? I'm working with an insurance company now that's going through a rebrand. It's a great way to get back on the radar, to reintroduce yourself into your market. But there's a way to do it that you leave a breadcrumb trail so that you're not completely starting over. It's very, very important. And let's talk a little bit about your digital footprint. Okay, so your digital footprint is, let's just say in the simplest terms, your website. We offer a free report card. There are softwares out there that can do it. You could do some of this yourself to get a sense of how it's performing. But there are like, these are the top five kind of metrics that we base our grades when we're looking at websites. Um, the design, the user interface, that's what UI stands for. uh, how does it look? Do people know where to click and what to do? Do you have a strong call to action? Do you want people to sign up? Do you want people to download something? Do you want people to call you? There's got to be something very clear. Like if I showed up at your house, would I know, where's the front door? Which way do you want me to come in? The usability is the user experience. As they click from one section to another, do they know what to do and where to go? Are you guiding them? How does it perform? Does it load fast? Okay, so there's statistics from Google that over 70% of people that visit a website and the website takes more than like 3 to 5 seconds to load, they leave. They will never come back to your site. So how fast it loads is very important. And it could be something as simple as you having too many high resolution pictures on there. Organic content is very important. SEO, for SEO, organic and paid. Okay, so what kind of verbiage do you have on there? Do you have a blog? Do you have are you using keywords enough that you're going to show up on search engines? So this is important as just laying a foundation for being unique and different. All right, so you want to have a high performing website. We talked about this here. Customers right now, they're on their phones. They're not picking up the yellow pages anymore. They're looking for you online. And are you going to be found? There are things you can do. You can have certain page titles and header tags embedded in your website. Keyword density is super important. Keyword density, if you're a financial advisor, you should have a lot of financial terms all throughout your website. And some people say, I just need a one-page website. I just need something simple. Well, if it doesn't have a lot of page depth, it's not going to rank well because it's not going to have enough keyword density. Yes, you can pay, and we'll talk about paid advertising, but this is strictly organic. Organic advertising is the free, and paid is the paid when you're paying to come up on Google. So XML sitemap, SSL encryption is your site secure, something that basic. There are people out there, believe it or not, they're expecting people to give them their credit cards, but they don't have a secure footprint. And to answer Morel real quick, you want to differentiate always. You want to be the go-to. So you should always, if the minute you stop putting out content, and we'll talk about a content strategy, is when you start fading into the background. And it's like, okay, people share a lot on social media. It's that thing of like, if a tree falls in the wood and nobody's there to hear it, did it make a sound? It's like, if you're in business but you're not visible on social media, it's like, do you even exist? Okay, because people are spending a lot of time, especially now during the pandemic, online, and they're not just browsing for websites. They need to see something. They need to see a fishing line. They need to see a banner ad. They need to see something, a post that's shared on LinkedIn if you're B2B, or on Facebook if you're B2C. Okay, you need to be out there, and that's how you differentiate yourself. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Pay per click is a great tool to use in conjunction with an organic content strategy. Pay per click is putting ads out that you can super target based on the demographic that you're trying to reach. But don't spend money on Google ads if your website is not optimized. If you don't have a good web experience, there's no point sending people there. Okay, they're not going to convert. They're not going to click if they don't know what to click. They're not going to sign up if the page doesn't load fast enough. And sometimes people just throw money at the problem. And this is like, imagine if you were spending a lot of money sending out invitations to having a gathering, uh, safely, of course, to your home. But then when you get to your home, doesn't look like anyone lives there, right? Or it's hard to figure out how to get in. People will drive away, and that's what happens if you don't have all of this kind of buttoned up. So let's dive into content marketing, because that kind of lays the foundation. You want to have good branding, you want to have good messaging, you want to communicate that, you want to have a strong web experience. But what kind of content is really going to help you stand out? People are consuming content constantly now. They're scrolling through. What's going to make them stop their thumb? Longer forms of content. If you're doing workshops like this, if you're doing a workshop, if you're doing a Facebook Live, or if you're doing a workshop at your location, or if you want to write a blog about, the top 10 things that families need to do for their home insurance to be optimized, you can take that long form content and you can chop it down into smaller pieces of content that you can put into your email, into social media, into other forms of advertising. For example, if you write a blog for your website, you could take the first paragraph of that or the first sentence of that, and that can be a post on your LinkedIn, or that could be a post on your Facebook for your business page, that is. So that same piece of content, you can get a lot of mileage out of it, because guys, this is going to take work. If you don't have the bandwidth, if you're an entrepreneur that's doing everything, or you feel like you're already taxed, this is going to take some work. Creating content takes a lot of work. Okay, I've put out over the last year over 65 videos, 2-minute videos. I've committed to putting out a 2-minute video every week, and I pick a different topic, and I do this for free, but this is content. Okay, and because of these videos, I landed an opportunity to be on a panel for the Greater New Haven Chamber, because the president of the chamber saw one of my videos on LinkedIn. He asked me to be on a panel. Then I got a call from NPR. NPR said, "We want you to. Will you be interested in doing an interview about reopening safely?" And I said, "Well, how did you find out about me?" They said, "Well, we were looking on Twitter for events on reopening, and we saw the chamber event. We registered. We heard you speak on the panel. We like what you had to say. We want you to be on NPR." I got on NPR. Then I was on NPR, and I used that content and put that out all over my digital footprint. And then I got a call from the Today Show. So you can literally see a progression from doing a video that this is, guys, this is me recording from my computer. This is not, you don't need anything fancy. You can do this with a smartphone. You could do this with a ring light. You could do this with your own computer camera. But the point is, you've got to put content out there, because to answer Morel Gaines' question, you want to be a subject matter expert. That's how you differentiate. You want to be the one that's giving away information that lets people know that you know what you're talking about. We're also putting out a podcast. You can do one of these things, you can do all of them, but it's a lot of work. A podcast is something that we've been doing where we feature clients and strategic partners and friends of the company. And we talk about anything that has to do with branding and marketing and entrepreneurship. We don't have to pay the guests. Uh, we don't. We basically do the production ourselves, and we upload this to our website, and then we upload it to Spotify. We upload it to Apple Podcast. Having a podcast right now is a great way to differentiate your business from the competition. You know how they say go the extra mile because it's never crowded? Well, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about, is doing more than your competitors are doing. If you put out a podcast, there's another great podcast called Made in America by a gentleman named Ari Santiago. I'm going to have him on my show. He's got a huge following and he owns an IT company, and they feature manufacturers on his show. And you think, well, why would an IT guy have a show about manufacturers called Made in America? Well, this IT guy's company's clients are those very same manufacturers. So you see what's happening here. You're creating content that positions you as a subject matter expert that gets you in front of the target audience that you're trying to reach. We even do a free code camp for kids. We did one this year virtually because we couldn't meet in person. But this is something that we do. And again, it gives us content. It shows people that we care about kids, that we're using our expertise to help kids. And it aligns with our values and it differentiates us, because I have not seen any other creative agency within earshot of us putting together a code camp for kids. So you ask me, how do we differentiate from our competitors? We do more. We give back more. We help more. And that's what I want you to think of. Twice a month, we put together a brand new live segment where our own team members go on Facebook Live. This is a completely different program. Now, if you've been keeping count, we're doing a weekly video, we're doing a podcast. Now we're doing this brand new live, and we pick a topic, and people get to hear from our own team members. So it's kind of like a live broadcast, and it's a lot of fun, and we take live questions. And then when that airs and we record it, now we have content that we can use for other purposes. Um, a part of your branded content strategy, you should all have a company newsletter where you're curating a database, where you have an e-list, and you're basically continuously adding email addresses to that database, and you're putting out a newsletter once a month. And what we do is we recap what we've done the month before. We highlight certain clients. We pick a project of the month. And you never know. You send this to people and they say, hey, I didn't know you guys worked on MetroCog's website that just launched today. Yeah, we did that. We've been working on that for the last year. Okay, so I've got another municipal project that you might be interested in. Put out content, a newsletter at the very least. If you guys say, hey, look, Ramon, we don't have time to do a podcast or videos or go live, put out a newsletter, please. It's content that keeps you engaged with your customers, and it's a great excuse to email them and let them know that you're still around and what you've been up to. So staying on the radar, at the very least, at the most fundamental level, staying on the radar is a differentiator, especially now if people have kind of just receded into the background. This is a great way to come out strong, especially in 2021. So how does this all work? So basically, you're looking at content all the way at your left, full length video. Let's say these are 10-minute videos. We got our podcast, we got our brand new live event. Now we take that content, we cut it down. When we do our Mission Control podcast, we record it via Zoom, and then we extract the audio and use that on our podcast. And then we utilize the video for our YouTube channel. Then we can take even smaller clips of that same video content and utilize the smaller video clips on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and Facebook to tease people to come and check out the podcast and listen to it. Then that is basically funneling people back into our website, and we get them to fill out either a questionnaire or they fill out a form to get a free report card. That helps us collect more email addresses, and then we send them more newsletters, and the cycle continues. And so we're building up our database of people. If you think of it this way, these are folks that have self-identified as like being interested in your services. And if you're sincerely out here to help people, you're not going to feel like you're selling to them because they're seeking you out. And they're seeking you out because they've consumed some of this informative content that you've put out there. So now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're about halfway through. We're still talking about content, but you may still be wondering, okay, I get it. I'm going to put out content where I position myself as a subject matter expert. Great, check. Well, what you're seeing now is a different phenomena where at least 80% of millennials want to support brands that are behind some type of social movement or social cause that they are as well. And Howard Schultz said it best. He said, if people believe they share values with a company, they will stay loyal to the brand. So content marketing is a great way to say that brands are human. Okay, so you're seeing this happen a lot. You're wondering what can you do? Document what your company is doing to help others. It's a great way, especially right now. Our world needs healing. We're moving forward. Okay, we're dealing with a pandemic. Everybody has a lot on their minds and a lot on their plate. Zappos and Crocs early on, they partnered together because guess what? People weren't buying shoes. People were home. They were quarantining. So I'm assuming their sales went down. So what did they do? They partnered with Crocs to give away shoes to the first responders. It was a great look for both Zappos and Crocs. So see if there's something that you can partner up with your company and another competitor. I mean, not a competitor, strategic partner, to do something together. This is a great way to say, hey, we're helping out. You're seeing this happen along a lot of the major brands. Like during the pandemic, Porsche extended its warranties. Um, there's articles, if you Google them, over 30 brands that are doing some sort of COVID-19 relief. Um, very, very great way, important way, because you're doing something good. You're making the world a better place. You're expressing that your values matter. And your clients and your customers are like, you know what? I want to support this company. If they've got to choose, okay, now if anybody watched the Super Bowl, Vroom is another uh, auto dealership that will deliver cars to you like Carvana. They're coming out and they're getting into the space. So pretty soon they're going to be options for those home delivery car services. Like everything else, what is it that's going to make you pick one vendor over the other? And oftentimes is what are they doing in the community? One of the things that we did during the pandemic is we just began to advertise all of our clients and all of our strategic partners on social media at no cost to them, just to say, hey, these are some of our power partners. And it went a long way. People really, really responded well to it. And it's something very easy to do. Again, this is something that we were not seeing any other agencies do, but we did it to help others. If you do it sincerely, it doesn't feel like you're selling. It looks like you're helping because that's what you really are doing. And that was something that was very important to us. We also did a campaign called Reopen Safely. We saw an opportunity early on to create some branded masks and to give them away and then have people send in their selfies. So we had basically user generated content. People love getting the masks, and then they would send us the picture and then we would post them online. It was just a really easy and fun campaign. Again, did not see any other creative agencies going to this extent. And yes, it did cost. I think we ended up spending about $3,000 on masks, but it was well worth it. We're doing our part to help reopen safely. If we want to say we want to reopen the economy safely, what were we doing to do that? I also spend a lot of time mentoring. This is a program, in addition to SCORE, it's a program in New Haven that I'm involved in. And people will see this and promote this, and that helps us stand out. People realize, like, hey, PD and Ramon, the team there, they really care about entrepreneurship and they're doing a lot to give back. So get involved. Another thing you're seeing is something that we're calling brand activism, where you can pick something that's important to you and take a stand with it. And content marketing can be utilized for brand activism. You're seeing, uh, brands like Ben and Jerry's. They put up this billboard right in Tampa. Recently, this just came out in the news, and they've taken a really strong effort to be against, vocally be against police brutality, and vocally be against racism and all this, and they're really going hard. Patagonia is another one that's really going hard. They've always been for the environment, so they don't want any politicians that's going to deny that there's climate change and all this other stuff. And you can say, yeah, well, they're getting political, but guess what? Every single time that Patagonia has made a statement such as this, where they literally sold this into their clothing, their profits have gone up. Okay, I'll say it again. Every single time that Patagonia has taken a stand, their profits have gone up. And that's how they're standing out amongst the competition. North Face was killing it not too long ago. That's probably their number one competitor. And now Patagonia is beating them out because they're taking a stand, and that's become their differentiator. And they're also practicing what they preach. They believe so much in the environment. You're going to think this is counterintuitive, but they actually have a program where you can, turn in your used clothing and they'll sell it to people that want to buy used clothing in an effort to recycle it and to minimize waste. So these guys are really at the forefront of practicing what they preach. They really, really care about the environment, and they put their money where their mouth is. And for them, is paying dividends. They're what's considered a socially responsible company. So it might not be right for you, but being a socially responsible company is something that I would encourage as a way to differentiate yourself. Just simply for the fact that you're doing your part to make the world a better place. Um, Bombas is a sock company, and they're doing they're taking off. I mean, they're amazing, and they're doing. I guess with homeless shelters, socks are the number one requested item, and so they've donated over 10,000 pairs of socks. um, you buy a pair and they donate a pair, so that helps them stand out. You wonder, what can I do to help somebody else? And don't feel shy about documenting it and sharing it, because that is what content marketing is all about. And it can be done in a way that's very sincere. um, Again, this is the stat that I mentioned earlier. 80% of millennial consumers. Now, think about who your consumers are. Are they millennials? If they are, then you really need to pay attention on what the social issues are, and pick one to get behind. So we're going to do a little bonus section here on content. So we're about a half hour in. I want to leave room for questions. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this bonus section, which is okay. I get it. I'm differentiating myself. I'm putting out podcasts. I'm putting out um, newsletters. I'm posting videos on my LinkedIn. And again, those videos do not have to be high production quality. It's better to be authentic, and we're going to talk about authenticity. But there are ways to monetize your content. We're getting a lot of clients now that want to figure out a way to how do they monetize their content. So this is a local client of ours. They're out of New Haven. We love them to death. They're a great client. They're helping a ton of people, but they wanted to build their database. And so they realized that a lot of people don't understand what lobbying is, or what's entailed. And so we put together a kind of like a lobbying 101 guidebook, and we did illustrations of all the partners, and we made it easy to understand and easy to follow. And it's an ebook that you can download, and we did for free. And we did a Facebook advertising campaign, and it's getting really, really good dividends on it for them. They're really building up their database by people that are downloading this, and it's a quid pro quo. They're giving up their name, their contact information, their email address, and they get to download this ebook. But now DNB Lobby is building up their database of people that are interested in learning more about what they do. You can take this content now. They're using their content to build their database. You can take your content and turn it into some digital products. What I mean by that is that instead of giving away an ebook, you can turn that ebook into a course. You can turn it into a curriculum. We've all seen the popularity of like the masterclass series, the subscription model. There's a great way to take your subject matter expertise, if you so desire, and in some cases that might end up becoming your product, and that might end up becoming your business. But there are a lot of software platforms out there. These are some of the ones that we're familiar with. um, you've probably all heard of CMS, or content management system. These are known as LMS, or learning management systems, and you can use them to either train your own staff, or you can use them as an online curriculum that folks can subscribe to or pay for to learn, some of your subject matter expertise, and they can get certifications or what have you. So these are all different platforms that I encourage you to look into, and they all work very well with WordPress. So WordPress is a platform that we love building in because it's open source. And all of these that are listed here, I'm sure there's more, but these are the ones we're familiar with. They all have an API where it plugs in really easily and seamlessly with WordPress. So if you've got a WordPress site, you want to add a dashboard on there that could be free, or a curriculum that could be paid. You have options to do that. So how do you know if this is all working, right? Because we can talk a good game, and if you're not looking at the data, you just have no idea. So there's a lot to be said for Google Analytics. Anyone on the call with a website, you have access to the Google Analytics. I would really pay attention to those numbers. I'm using this example from July because it was during this month that I wrote a blog post, and it was a blog post. I believe it was on the CEO of Goya, and some statements he had made in the news, and people were talking about boycotting it and all this. So I wrote a blog about it, and that I shared that blog post on LinkedIn, and you can see a huge spike of web traffic. We had almost 600 visitors to the website from that one blog post. So it's like a direct kind of illustration of the power of content and content marketing. You put something out there, and if you're set up for it, you're really primed for traffic. And you can see on the pie chart in the lower right, you can see that 92% of the visitors during that time period were brand new visitors. Like, that's huge. That's a great indicator. And 8%, only 8% were returning. So you can get a lot of data. Like, I don't want to bore you to death with charts, but Google Analytics has a lot of data, and you can see where are they coming from. So this chart here was telling us that almost 60% of our site traffic was coming from social media. When it says direct, it means like they literally typed in, the URL into the browser window, peraltadesign.com, and went to the website. And then other sessions are like links that they have clicked from other sources, online. But that's an amazing illustration for me, because I realized, like, okay, what we're doing on social media is working. So that's what I mean by looking at the data, so you can say, okay, I can see that we got a spike after that post. We're going to do more of that post. Or, you know what, that post didn't get any shares. We're going to do less of that. Like, really look at the content that you're putting out there and let it dictate to you. So I want to end on the note of authenticity, because it's so important. Now, I just pulled this graphic, but it really hits home. Um, Make sure that your business is authentic, and that you're representing yourself and your business authentically. So it's the one thing that really is going to differentiate you. About, forget about everything else. If you can convey your authenticity through who you are, what you do, and why someone should do business with you as a person, that's going to be something that nobody can copy, because your work experience and your passions and your interests and your home life and your personality, all those things are so unique to you. You have to find a way to communicate that as well, when you're out there, because that ultimately is going to be the number one differentiator, is going to be the authenticity. And I think there's a way to do it um, properly. You know, people will get to know you. If you're the CEO, you got to be comfortable putting yourself out there. Those that watched the Super Bowl, the Oatly commercial literally had the CEO of the company singing a song like in an open field or something like that. You're seeing this more and more where like the CEO is being more comfortable becoming the face of the brand, and that's that authenticity coming through. So I highly encourage you guys to really kind of make sure that everything's aligned with who you are and everything, because everything else can be copied, and we're going to have competitors that try to copy us, try to beat our pricing and things like that. But if you're true to yourself and who you are, I think ultimately that's going to pay the highest dividends. Some books that I always like to recommend, the Go Giver is a great one. There's two of them, the Go Giver and then the Go Givers Sell More. It's a short read, but it talks a lot about giving away your information, giving away your expertise to help others. Um, Good to great. And Linda, the question there, this book here, Building Your Story Brand, is a great book for that exactly, because they have a questionnaire that'll help you develop that authentic message. They have like a little curriculum. So I would absolutely grab this book, Building a Story Brand. It's a great book. They have a method exactly for that. And Good to Great is another great book, just from leadership standpoint and scaling. Many of entrepreneurs, as we realize like we can't do it all, we start hiring our first employee, and then we start to figure out, okay, do I have the right people on the bus, and are they in the right seat, kind of a thing. And that this book covers a lot of that. I also like the E Myth, and that's not on here, but building a story brand absolutely helps you develop that authentic message. I'm also working on a book of my own that should be out later this year. Um, and so we'll keep an eye on that. And I just want to say thank you. I want to make sure that I finished right at the 40-minute mark, so we have some time for questions. Thank you all.
Okay, that's great, Ramon. As Ramon says, we got lots of time for questions today. So just as a reminder, if you'd like to ask Ramon a question, you can do it through the chat feature. You just hover on the bottom, click on chat, and type your question in, and we'll take as many as we can up until the top of the hour here. So I'll just start. We do have a few here, Ramon, so we'll just start there. Um, this one is from Carlos. Ramon, I consider Google reviews online currency. The more reviews the business has, the wealthier it is. What
Yes.
is your top strategy to obtain reviews from new and current clients?
The top strategy is to have it be part of your process. So as soon as you close out a job, as soon as you hire, I mean, as soon as you sign, you get a client to sign on, and they're happy, that's the moment to reply to them and say, we're so glad this worked out for you. We loved working with you. If you mind taking a second here and just let us know here how you feel, it'd be great. It'll be helpful. And just have that Google link. You can extract the link yourself from Google reviews, and just send it to people. If you catch them in that sweet spot, like after they're really happy, you just save them money. Oftentimes they'll just tell you in an email how happy they are. Just say right there, great, we love it, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind, just copy paste that right into this Google review. It'll mean so much. I think it's much harder to get them to do that later if you wait. So we make it as part of our processes, to make sure we send them a link.
Okay, that's great. We have a question here from Judith. Would you please let me know what you think about hard copy newsletters?
Hard copy newsletters, I think still have a place depending on your target audience. If your target audience, let's say, are seniors, or people that are less likely to read things online, or people that are less likely to just be on their phones, then sure, by all means, it should be part of your strategy. I would not put all my eggs in one basket. I believe in integrated marketing campaigns. And so that means that you try different things and you look at the data. And one of the things you can do with with a newsletter is perhaps you have an offer on that newsletter that has a unique code printed on it, and you can start to measure if they call and they use that code, you can tell, hey, you know, this newsletter is working. And so, or have a unique URL or link on that newsletter that says, hey, like this newsletter, you know, visit this page to get some other content. You know, maybe there's something free or some kind of promotion that you can give. But the point of it is just to see if you can drive unique traffic from that newsletter. That's also a great way to tell if that newsletter is working. Otherwise, you really don't know. And I've heard, believe it or not, during the pandemic, a shift where people are, since people are home or working from home, just taking that walk to their mailbox. If you're in a B2C business, of course, if you're B2B, hard copy newsletter may not make it to your target, so business to business. But if you're business to consumer, you have people that are working from home that actually are looking forward to going to their mailbox and getting that printed piece of collateral. So I wouldn't say print is dead, but I would try to put some measures in it so that I can see if it's working. And I wouldn't make it all that I'm doing. I would make it part of what I'm doing.
Okay, that's great. Great advice. Here's one from Alicia regarding LinkedIn. Do you have any tips for setting up your LinkedIn profile?
Yes, LinkedIn is great, especially if you're B2B. I would say professional headshot is number one, and utilize the space in the cover photo. You know, the cover photo can be, if you're a speaker, you can have an image of you speaking or an image of you in front of an audience. Or if you're an author, you can have your book in that area. But you have some real estate now, similar to Facebook, that you can utilize. And then also make sure your description uses keywords that are going to be searchable. Believe it or not, a lot of times if somebody Googles you, your LinkedIn profile shows up on the first page. It's got some good stickiness. It may be a way that they may get to your website through LinkedIn. So please make sure that if you have a business, have a separate business profile on LinkedIn, and then have your own profile on LinkedIn. And I'm seeing a tremendous amount of engagement on LinkedIn over the last 10, 11 months. Again, I think it's a lot of people are captive audiences. They've done some things with the algorithms on LinkedIn where you can posts, and you can show support. Like they have the little icon similar to Facebook, and all those little nuances have really made it more engaging. But there's something magical that happens on LinkedIn more so than any other platform, and that is if you post something, ask your friends to comment on it, or if you post on somebody else's post, make sure you mention their name or you mention somebody else's name. Like if you were at a networking event, mentioning the names of the people in the post, that causes that post to go viral, and it'll show up on, other people will get notified of it. And unlike Facebook, you don't have to be a first, like a first level connection. It could be somebody that's a second or third level. So you have a kind of a greater likelihood of going viral on LinkedIn with a post. And so I make it part of my daily routine to respond to people, to interact with people. And if you want to connect with somebody, send them a note. Don't just hit the connect button, but send them a note. Say, hey, we met here, or we have a mutual connection here. And so absolutely, I hope some of that helped, but I absolutely think having an optimized profile on LinkedIn is a very smart move.
I would definitely concur with that from our score experience as well. And as you said, particularly with B2B. Here's one from Christine, who has launched an eco-conscious clothing brand and is having difficulty gaining reach via Facebook, Instagram, and Google. I do have a Shopify store. Do you have any recommendations?
So eco-friendly clothing brand immediately makes me feel like millennials are going to be all over that. And so there is a way for you to do paid advertising on Instagram. I don't know how much paid advertising she's doing. Shopify is totally fine as a platform, and it's a great kind of starting point because it has a lot of built-in e-commerce that would be very expensive to build yourself otherwise on WordPress. So Shopify is totally cool, fine. Um, I would say that I would ramp up advertising on Instagram, and there may be some some potential for advertising on Snapchat and TikTok as well. Also, try other methods like getting mentioned on podcasts that have a big following of millennials, or offering to appear as a guest on panels where it's entrepreneurship. Like any opportunity to create content is important for you. But I think Facebook and Instagram, they're connected and you can advertise on both. I think that millennials are going to be really big on this. And considering, since you have the eco-friendly, considering something where there's some charitable aspect, or really highlighting how it's eco-friendly, like that's a huge differentiator. And I think millennials would be all into it. And it's just brand awareness. Just let people know you're out there, and really figure out where they are. And if you're targeting women, I think Pinterest is another great platform to be on. It'll give you a chance to maybe do some ensembles, because subscription boxes are really gaining in popularity. Where some of the big luxury brands, they're figuring that people actually like getting a mystery box every month. So maybe you have some kind of mystery ensemble where it's not, I don't know what you're selling clothing wise, but let's say it's pants and a shirt and socks. Or maybe you partner with, if you only make shirts, maybe you partner with another brand that does pants. But maybe co-branding some kind of subscription box could be a fun way to get your product out there. And look to see what kind of opportunities there are to give back. Maybe you sponsor someone that's getting back into the workforce, or maybe you partner with a shelter, and you provide an article. Maybe it's socks, or maybe it's a T-shirt. I don't know, but aligning yourself, I think this is important for everyone. Aligning yourself with other brands that have brand recognition. So somebody might not know your brand, but if you align with, say, the local United Way, or you align with a local, I don't know, I'm just going to say Chipotle, or some other brand that millennials like, um, there could be some great co-branding opportunities there. And it's all about leveraging reputable brands with others. And I'll end with this. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, or don't think there are any that align with you, some of your colleagues that are strategic partners, they may pitch in and do something together with you. So there's always strength in numbers.
Great, that's very helpful. Here's our next one's from Jay, which is quite a common situation, I think, for a lot of small business owners. And saying, and Jay saying, all this information is great, but of course, with all these elements to introduce into your marketing, how can a business owner handle all of this? And if we were to hire a company to assist with this, how much would we expect to pay?
That's a great question. You know, there's always, where there's a will, there's a way. Obviously, if budget wasn't an issue, you could hire a company to do this for you, sit with you, understand you, make sure it's authentic, and create the content for you. And there are different tiers. You could have somebody, depending on how much content you wanted to put out there. It could be done 10 hours a week, up to 20 hours a week, or 30 hours a week, right? So the sky's the limit depending on your budget. If you were on a shoestring budget, what we find with some clients is that they have the resources, meaning that they have staff, they just don't know what to do, or they don't know what to have them do. And so you can hire an agency to create a flight plan or a marketing strategy for you. And then what you basically are getting is you're paying for the blueprint or the instruction manual, and then you follow that. You can then bring that into your company and follow that and say, hey, here, here's what we need to do. Here's the kind of content we need to put out. Here's when we need to put it out. Here are the platforms we put it out on. And then there's a third option. So you've got the option where you just hire a company outright, most expensive. The least expensive is just hire a company to create the marketing strategy for you, and then you execute it yourself. And then the middle option would be that you work in tandem with a marketing agency. Like, so you hire a marketing agency, they come up with a strategy for you, and then you utilize some of your staff, and then you utilize some of the agency staff, so you work together. So you may have a VP of marketing or a marketing director, but that person's already overworked, but they still understand the business intimately. So they become the liaison between the business owner and the agency, and you work in tandem. So those are the typical three kind of outcomes that I see happening, and it all depends on budget. And a good marketing agency will give you some forecasting, because all the business owner wants to know is, I'm willing to invest, but I want to know what my return is going to be. And if you work with a reputable agency, they can provide you some return, what they call return on ad spend. And if you're trying to get more customers, they may say, okay, what's an application worth to you? What Okay, so if an application is worth $500 for me, it would make total sense for me to spend $100 to get a new customer. But if your application or each customer was only worth $100 to you, then it wouldn't make sense to spend $500 to acquire them. So there are some things that would take place during discovery. To answer the gentleman's question, is that you would want to find out, well, what's the value of each customer to you? What are you willing to spend to get a new customer? We want to make sure that the math adds up, and then we develop a strategy to meet those goals.
That's great. We've got time for just a couple more. Here's one on what are your thoughts on events, both face-to-face and virtual?
Well, I mean, I think we're moving towards face to face as people get vaccinated, but I think a majority of folks are still not comfortable meeting in person. So I've been making it an option. I do have 75% of my staff is on site, and when clients want to meet with us, I do offer it to them as an option, as long as they understand that there's gonna be a temperature check, and that we're gonna keep our masks on, and we'll be socially distant. I think there's a way to do it safely. Unfortunately, that voice has been lost. It's either the one extreme of we can't go outside, and then the other extreme of we don't need to wear masks. I do think we need to respect everyone's comfort level, but I do see that a hybrid going forward is going to be the way that things are going to move. I think we're going to always have an element that has to cater to those folks that may never. I know it's hard to believe for some of us, but there's going to be an element of our society that's just never going to want to go back to being full on in person ever. And so whatever we do, even when we have our expos or we have our gatherings, we're going to have to accommodate, kind of like we accommodate wheelchair ramps and hearing impaired or vision impaired. We're going to have to accommodate people that would prefer a virtual experience. I think that's just going to stay. But so I just see us moving forward on a hybrid level. That's what I think of it.
That's great. We have about 1 minute left. So a quick comment on Gary's question. Any thoughts on how to leverage Clubhouse, and any early tips on cautions with that channel?
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm brand new on Clubhouse. At Peralta Design, if anyone's on Clubhouse and wants to connect with me, and I've done 2 rooms over the last 2 weekends just to try it out. It's very much like a conference call. You pick a topic or you join in on a topic, and then people gather and you can invite folks for it. And it's really, I think it's a great platform if you're a subject matter expert, if you're a speaker. I think it's a great platform for people to just stumble upon you, because the allure of the platform is that you can be in a room and Gary Vee might be in the room, or you know, Jack Canfield might be in the room, or some celebrity could potentially be in the room with you. And so it's like the great equalizer. Like when everybody's in the room, all you can really do is talk, and so that there's no other, you know, it basically equalizes. The common denominator is that everyone has a platform to say what they want, you know, to say what they want. And I'm very, very green and new to it. I've only done it twice, but I recommend you to try it. I think there's a lot of opportunity because it's a brand new platform. It's still invite only. I would say try it, check it out. It's a great opportunity to be on the beginning of something rather than trying to join in on something that's been around for a while. So who knows where it's going to go? I think it's fun. I'm still very green at it, but if you're a subject matter expert, you like talking, you want to do more talking, that's a good platform for you.
Okay. That's great. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and it's all the quick time we have for questions. Just a reminder, there's a few people in the chat that this was recorded and the materials will be available within about 48 hours on the fairfieldcounty.score.org website. You can just click on demand webinars and it will take you there. Our next live webinar is tomorrow, Tuesday, February 9th at noon. And the topic is what to consider when buying a small business, with Cliff Anico presenting. And again, if you would like to avail yourself of free individual counseling, you can click on the link in the screen or visit our website. And if I could also ask you to please fill out your evaluations, that would be very helpful to us. So in closing today, a big thank you to Ramon for presenting. Thank you very much. And stay well, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.